All right, hello and welcome to the Southbound Sports Show. I'm your host, Richie Leahy, here with Rick David and the newly anointed head coach, Matt Bilczak here. Matty B gets the promotion to head coach. I want to give him a shout out before we start out. If you follow us on Twitter, make sure you do S-Bound Sports. You can see the official announcement, but just wanted to say congratulations, Matt, before we get started. Want to say anything?
Thank you. Oh, absolutely. Very excited to take on this project. Started out 2 years ago as a volunteer, got bumped up to offensive coordinator. Very excited to see have the team continue the direction that we've been moving in. So very excited to take on this new role.
All right, congrats again. We'll go ahead and get into some high tempo here. Rick, you want to kick us off this week? What do you have?
Sure, I'm going to go with baseball this time, which seems to be the growing trend. But, I mean, Pirate fans can complain all they want to. There is a worse fan base in Major League Baseball, and it's Tampa Bay Rays. These fans are getting hosed so much. I mean, you put your all-star, who was the DH, in the all-star game this last year. You designate him for assignment here last week. And now you just made a trade within the past hour. You just trade away your other guy who was your cornerstone of your team. You just trade away Steve Souza to the Arizona Diamondbacks for one of their pitching prospects. And you're just now literally just selling out your team. Your other all-star, Logan Morrison, you don't want to re-sign him because you traded for Chris Cron, who's making like the league minimum right now. I mean, it's absolutely horrible what these guys are doing and selling out. Jake Gordozzi was traded, who was going to be their number 2 in their rotation. Wasn't even traded for a top 20 prospect. This guy wasn't even on the Twins' radar, and they literally trade him away. Absolutely sad. Pirate fans can complain all they want to, but you got to look at what Tampa Bay is doing. They're selling out everybody here, and it's getting very little attention. I know probably you'll hear Tony Clark here come out in like a day or two and say these guys are just selling it out and it's all money deals, which it truly is. Anybody with money right now next to their name that's not named Chris Archer, you are no longer going to be with Tampa Bay here probably on opening day. It's that sad. So, and trust me, Chris Archer will probably go at the trade deadline to the highest bidder out there, which you could either guess will probably either be the Yankees, Red Sox, Cubs, maybe Diamondbacks. I know Giants will probably want to get in that run if they get an injury. So, I mean, there's going to be some suitors out there for him. I mean, Texas could even look at him if they start making a run because their guys are aging so fast on that team. So, Beltre's beyond old, and Elvis Andrus just got hurt taking ground balls. Now he has back spasms and he's out. So, I mean, sad day to be a Tampa Bay Rays fan. Don't know how you could be them. Don't know if you deserve the team because your team should actually – maybe that's how you bring back the Expos. I know those fans want something up there in Montreal. Move them from the – I know an NL team from the AL, but, I mean, at least people will show up in Montreal. Nobody shows up in Tampa not unless the Red Sox or the Yankees are in town.
I don't want to see movement with Major League Baseball anymore. I want them just to go to the promotion and relegation deal that Premier League uses and give minor league teams a chance to move up. Because I think there was a stretch here in Durham with the International League champs, the Durham Bulls. They were on a stretch there. They're the minor league club for the Rays. They were on a stretch where they were very close in attendance. And for a minor league team to be close to their home base in attendance, that's pathetic. So I would rather see that. Just bump them up. Just do a flip, instead of trying to move the actual team. Because some of these minor league fans, I think that would be a cool feature. Kind of move around. Think of I grew up near Altoona too. Altoona Curve for the Pirates. You're tired of seeing the Pirates so much. Give the Curve a crack at it. See what happens. Matt, what do you got for high tempo this week?
I was looking today. The Texans have finally officially released Brian Cushing, freed up $7.6 million of cap space. It was speculated that it was performance-enhancing drugs or that there was some kind of drug issue that they were finally going to release him. I'm curious to see where he ends up, being that Crennel's the D coordinator with Houston. I wouldn't be surprised if New England ends up being one of the front runners that he takes a lower paying deal. He's a veteran player. could be a potential landing spot. Pittsburgh needs a linebacker. Would be interesting to have them bring him in for a workout. Not gonna sign him.
Yeah, we'll get into the Steelers here in a second. For my high tempo, I saved it for last. Michigan hired Jim McElwain. I was pretty harsh on him. Pretty harsh on him last fall. I don't know how to feel. He's the. I think the official title is he's wide receiver coach. I think he might be calling plays. We officially have 3 offensive coordinator type positions right now, and I don't like it. I have no confidence going into the season on offense. You're waiting to see if a quarterback gets the transfer okay. You're bringing in coaches. I mean, Florida was awful on offense. I made fun of them so hard for 3 weeks leading up to the game last year, and Florida was just as bad. And now we hire him, bring him on. I know he coached offensive coordinator for the Alabama 2 national championship teams there. So possibly, I don't know, but we'll see. Just wanted to bring that up, kind of clear the air, because I did talk a lot of trash, and I guess I'll give him a chance, see what happens. Hopefully he's a little bit classier in press conferences than what he was down in Florida. We'll get back into the Steel City update now, jump into the Steelers, start with them. There's a lot of hot air being blown around. They're saying that anything's on the table. They're going to make moves, cut a bunch of people. I think, Rick, you threw out some names over the weekend. Again, follow us on Twitter, S-Bound Sports. Follow us on there and see whatever we get breaking news-wise. That's where we're probably going to put it. And they're looking to make some moves. Like Matt said, you need some linebackers. Are you going to bring anybody in? I don't know. I don't have any confidence, to be honest, because it's kind of like the players are calling shots. I liken it to the point where you have what happened with the Cleveland Cavaliers and LeBron James. You know, LeBron is in the background telling the front office execs, like, hey, we got to move some of these pieces. I feel like Ben Roethlisberger and some of the big-name guys there, Brown and Bell, are kind of calling their shots with the Steelers. So until they put together an actual team effort and stop sabotaging the locker room, I'm not going to be confident in some of these late season games. What do you guys think about that? Do you think they'll make moves?
I think they got to. I think William Gay's making way too much. Mike Mitchell super underperformed. I think Pro Football Focus had him being one of the worst safeties in the league as a starter, if not the worst. I know he was there.
But not in trash talking. He was pretty high in trash talking and not backing it up.
Yeah, he would always go for the big hit and miss sometimes. I don't see how he stays. I think he was a $4 million. I think they saved 4 or 5 if they cut him or something along those lines. And Gay, I think, is around the same. I think if you cut these guys, you need to make money. That'll pay for Bell and his long-term agreement. So,
well, speaking of that, we actually don't have this on agenda. Go ahead, Matt.
I don't know, because Pittsburgh historically has been a team that really believes in building through the draft. They just received a 6th-round draft pick from the Giants for the Ross Crockwell trade. I see them just being a team that they don't move up or down when they go to draft. They don't really typically make big splash free agency signings. When they do, though, they're usually impact players. But I just think that even though you go in thinking they have all these needs, they have to address them, they don't. And they were a playoff team, and they didn't make any moves. So I don't foresee that happening.
I agree. I don't feel confident that anything's going to happen. I think they're throwing a lot of a talk out there so the players see it and they get a little bit worried. But other than that, I'm not confident that they're going to actually make some moves. And I wanted to bring up, because we didn't put it on the actual agenda, but one key piece you're looking at is like Kirk Cousins. He's looking to either be franchise tagged or he might get a ridiculous deal from the Jets. I think they were throwing around $60 million as a possible, was it a 1-year agreement, or it's like a front-loaded agreement? Crazy numbers out there, and you're looking at the Steelers and everything sitting pat, and it's going to circle around just like it did in around 2009-10, where they had a lot of veterans, and when those veterans like Polamalu and everyone retired, you're going to get into a down cycle. And I hope that Ben Roethlisberger sticking around with not really an identity kind of on offense. You have a new offensive coordinator and stuff, that he stick around too long, and then they're not going to have the money and the pieces to make a move. Because right now, you're sitting in a year where we talked about it. If he retired, we had a feeling Kirk Cousins was going to be available. Now he is. This could have been the next step for the Steelers for some continuity. Instead of hoping for maybe one more year of Ben, we could have had five plus years of Cousins. What do you guys have any thoughts on that? I know the price tag's high, but do you really want to try to squander one more year at this point where there's locker room division? Or, I mean, you're going to get back into it. I just have a bad feeling coming into this year the way this one ended. Or next year, I guess. Anything you guys want to bump in? Matt, go ahead.
I think the first part to it is, what is Le'Veon Bell's situation? Are they going to get the long-term deal done, or are they just going to let him be someone else's cancer? You know, I think that issue needs to be addressed first, and I think this is one of the dates where the NFL can franchise tag players, and hopefully they can get that long-term deal done and just be done with it, and then we don't have to deal with every year of renewing contracts and this and that. If they can't get it done and you have this pool of money, then it makes sense to potentially look into it. But I don't think you break the bank like you do Roethlisberger for Cousins. I think with what you saw in Philadelphia this past year with Foles replacing Carson Wentz, that if you have confident staff that can take the skills of the players. I'm not saying by any stretch of the imagination that Landry Jones is an elite quarterback or the answer to Pittsburgh, but they can make him work if they work within that system to be a stopgap, because he's been in the league long enough. He's been in that reliever role long enough that I think he could tide them over until they find that next potential player.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. They do have Dobbs, and I think they're going to end up moving more towards Dobbs than Landry Jones. I think you see Landry Jones go the way as like Dennis Dixon did when he was with the Steelers. There for what seemingly a decently long time, but overall you just don't have the stuff, and they're going to phase you out when they get someone else in there. But, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to keep harping on the Steelers. We have the draft. We're going to talk about it later in the show. So we'll move on to the Penguins, and I don't want to say that I was right, but it's looking like I was. Penguins have been tearing it up. 1 point behind the Caps in the Metropolitan Division. 5-game win streak. 8-1-1 in their last 10 games. They've been on a roll. I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling good that things are going to work out. They're going to hit. I just hope that they don't peak too early. You see that a lot with teams that make a deep run in the playoffs. You know, in hockey, you have to have your legs under you. But I'm confident going in here to the final stretch of the season, they're going to get, I mean, it's crazy. A month ago, we were talking about them hitting the 8 seed, 7 seed. And now they have a chance to win their division and get up there. They're in, what would it be, 5th right now? So it's not a big leap if they win their division. But still, getting one of those higher seeds might give you a little bit of a leg thing. I know I might be contradicting stuff I said earlier, but a few weeks ago, but that was a different scenario. The Penguins look like they can play with anyone right now. You guys have anything to add on them?
They're still setting that home win streak, so I think that's at now 12 games, so that's going to help them out where Murray's back and being healthy, and now he's not missing games due to family issues, so that's another key that he's playing very, very well at this point in time too. So in getting guys back from injury, Hornquist should be back sometime very soon. He's skating on his own, so that should be another positive. So, and the trade deadline I think is now within 7 or 8 days. So we're going to see some more trades happening. So let's see what teams start dealing. Rangers are definitely going to be dealing. Buffalo's going to be dealing. Arizona's going to be dealing about 1 or 2 guys off. So, I mean, there's going to be some guys. So we'll wait and see what happens. I'm a little bit cautious here because who knows who could pull up the big trade here at the trade deadline.
Yeah, keeping going, Rick, do you have anything for the Pirates this week? I really don't have anything on them.
Daniel Nava already got injured, so there's another injury to already talk about. He got injured. He left today's practice.
That's just another negative.
You did get Bryce Brents in a trade, who was the 28th guy for the Red Sox last year. That means if you're 28, you only have a 25-man roster, so that means you play in AAA all year. So he played in AAA all year because JD Martinez is now there, so he's definitely not playing. They need to make the 40-man spot. Bryce Brents is out of options. He could come here. He used to be a top 5 prospect with Red Sox, but that was years ago. That is then. This is now. I mean, I don't get it, but whatever. We'll see what he does. But they need a bench bat, and he's a bench bat, and that'll probably either force Ozuna to the minors or something else. I don't know what the heck will happen now. Nava's injured. Today at practice, they had to put Adam Frazier in left field. And the weirdest move ever, they put him in left field because everybody's injured and Bryce Brents didn't show up yet. So they're playing him in left field, and they're like, that's going to be a problem. So, I mean, I don't get what they're doing, but whatever. It's the Pirates anymore. I mean, they're just becoming a joke upon themselves.
Who do you think has the better win percentage, Rick? Altoona Curve or the Pittsburgh Pirates?
Altoona Curve, they have most of their top 10 prospects are going to be in Altoona this year. Out of your top 10 of the Pirates, I think 5 are going to be with the Curve this year. So between Reynolds, Martin, Keller, Tucker, I think I hit most of them. So, I mean, keep Brian Hayes. Hayes will be there. Will Craig will be there during this year. So that's probably 6 out of your top 10 will be there.
There you have it. Better deal, better bang for your buck. Take a little bit of a road trip if you're around the Pittsburgh area. Go see their minor league team. Cheer some young guys on, and you'll be cheering for them as they hit the majors with the Giants or the Yankees in a few years. So, going to go ahead and get into I teased this a little bit last week, the Winter Olympics. I think at the end we wanted to get back into it. I think I teased the coin flip. Not 100% sure. This is what I had written down. But Shawnee Davis, last week, or I guess it was the opening ceremony, because we were running out of time. He was up. They do a team vote, so every athlete, they go ahead and they do. I don't know if they do like a blind ballot or what, but they get all the athletes to vote on who's team captain. Well, he ties with someone, and they do a coin flip as a tiebreaker. I guess that's a thing. Whatever, it was in the rule book. So he knew going in that if there was going to be a tie, I think they asked for a secondary vote to see if anyone would flip. And I could be wrong, but they tied again or whatever. So it went to the coin flip. He loses the coin flip and then goes out and tries to say that it was because it was biased against him, this coin flip. He had a 50-50 chance. So he must not understand simple probability. But I wanted to bring it up because immediately after, someone changed his Wikipedia page to read, Shawnee Davis is a whiny loser with no common sense, and that has marred his legacy due to his poor character. And then in the highlight, he finished 19th place at the most recent Olympics as a speed skater. So they take off all of his gold medals that he's won in the past, and they kind of threw it away because that's what he was complaining about, saying he was the more accomplished one. They should have went with the more accomplished athlete, when that's not what team captain's about. It's about who do your teammates trust. Hey, dude, you were one of the top. I wouldn't have been surprised. Actually, I wouldn't even have felt bad if they did like a co-captains, but maybe the Olympics doesn't allow that. I don't know. But, hey, he had a chance, didn't work out. I think you're already starting the Olympics off on the bad foot. Before the show, we were talking about it. There's some weird stuff going on with the Olympics this year. The Russian team, they weren't allowed to compete in all sports or something because of doping allegations, and now they're even getting caught doping in curling, which to me is just crazy because you don't need muscles to do that. I mean, I guess it's a heavy weight, but basically you're just pushing it and trying to get it to stop. It's shuffleboard on ice, let's be honest. And I haven't played it, but there is a club here in Raleigh, so I'm going to try. I don't know. We'll have to see what their schedule is, but I'll try to do some stuff for Southbound Sports where I go try it out. And I'll see. Maybe I'll eat my words. Maybe you do need to juice up to push that brick down the ice, but I don't think you do. What are you guys' thoughts? You have anything? You think he needs to bulk up?
I think you need more of the skill. It's like bowling. You need more of the skill, more of the form, the technique. The more do you need like humongous muscles. I don't understand what Russia's doing. I really don't get this.
It was for sleep.
I mean, he's claiming it's for sleep. So my spotter's telling me that, Sir Bill. So it was for sleep. I guess you need steroids to sleep. I don't get this, but whatever. You should know what you're taking. Everybody should know what they're taking. If you don't, you always have that team doctor or the nutritionist or your athletic trainer. Somebody's always given that role that says, okay, whatever he's putting in him, you got to check to make sure. Why don't you just check to make sure? You look stupid when you don't, you know?
Should have had a McDonald's.
Yeah.
burger.
Yeah, he should have had McDonald's and ate that in South Korea. It's probably better. They wouldn't have steroids, probably.
I have a better idea, and it would solve all of these issues. Nobody likes jury duty. Why don't we draft our teams via random lottery? So you figure, like, after these Olympics, we send out the letters. You got 4 years to prepare. Your event is now figure skating. It is now the luge. And you just send them out like jury duty slips, and you have to have like a legitimate reason as to why you can't perform. And I think that would make for much more enjoyable Olympics. To have, rather than these people that are just born and raised to be prepared for these Olympics, let's see, what can an average Joe do in 4 years? I know we joked around about it years ago when I said I think that I could qualify for the luge. I still think that I could do it. But there was no opportunity for me to showcase my talents in the luge. It just happened that it just showed up. There it was. There was no, hey, if you want to be on the luge team, you should come for tryouts for America. I think I should have had my chance to fall down the ice.
I agree, because I always wanted to play hockey growing up, and they didn't have that in our school. So if you don't have the opportunity, I mean, how are you going to know? Because some of these sports, there are no team clubs. There's no team curling in high school. Could you imagine? And we're from the north, Pennsylvania. It gets pretty cold up there. Good bit of snow this year. So you had a chance. They could have threw a curling team together. But you don't know. Maybe I'm an ace curler. We won't find out until I go do it. But I agree, Matt. I think that would be a cool idea. And they will never do it. But it reminds me of something. I try to watch the Olympics again. And I hate just bringing up coverage and stuff. But I put it on the television, and it's a 30-minute infomercial. They didn't show any events. They showed this one guy training. And this was like prime time, maybe 7:30, 8 o'clock. I tried to check it out thinking, okay, they'll have something good on. I don't care if it's tape delayed. I didn't look at the standings to kind of get a feeling for the show. And instead, it was like an infomercial on this athlete. They didn't tell me who or for what country, but he was training to make the Winter Olympics. And he kept saying it was like a once-in-a-lifetime chance. But he was a Summer Olympic athlete. I forget what he did. But then he tried to get into cross-country skiing, I believe. So he spent all this time training. But I was thinking, dude, you're already a summer athlete. I don't know if he won the gold because I don't remember his name. I don't think they even told me. They just showed like a Rocky montage of him like on the...
Was it the joke?
He was on the beach like doing cross-country skiing in the sand with like rollerblades or something, and they were just showing it how awesome it was for him to finally reach his dream of being in the Olympics. And I was thinking, you've already competed. You just took someone else's spot. Maybe you're from a smaller country and they don't have that many athletes. I don't know.
It's the Jamaicans.
Maybe you're American and you were like, yeah, I'll just show everyone up. But dude, if you're going to go there, win. Because if you're American, we didn't win. He did not win. He probably finished, I could finish 600th place in the Olympics. It's not that hard to show up and lose. So I agree with your thing, Matt. If random people are just going to go ahead because they have the means, basically the money. He had the money to get a dedicated trainer, and he obviously didn't have a job where he can just go ahead and, you know what, I'm going to cross-country ski for 4 years, I guess. You're right, Matt, from the other Olympics to this one. You have to have the money to be able to do that, and most people simply don't. That's why our best athletes aren't out there. And the NHL thing, they're not playing. What do you guys think about that? No NHL athletes. It's like watching college hockey. Go ahead.
But you know what? I don't mind that. I don't mind that right now just because that's dipping into the NHL money. Mm-hmm. And for a team like Pittsburgh right now that's playing for another Stanley Cup, and to really just put the boots to the rest of the league. It would suck to have Crosby and Malkin get injured in the Olympics, and then to have them injured and not be able to be available for the playoffs. I think it would hurt revenue for the Penguins. It would hurt revenue for the Pittsburgh area. It would hurt just as a fan of the Penguins in general, that it would suck to have that happen.
Yeah.
So I would rather avoid that whole situation altogether by not having them. And if I was a commissioner of the NHL, I would do it the exact same way, because let's face it, with the way that they're broadcasting these games, I don't think you're going to get that big of a tune in regardless. So, you're protecting your investments, because they're not going to get that bump playing in the Olympics, and the only thing that could possibly happen is more injuries could occur.
Yeah. And the last time the Penguins were in it, half the team was gone. They were all in the Olympics, while the other half sat at home. There were teams that were only sent 2 guys the last Olympics, and they got a 2-week break in the middle of the season. The NHL makes no money off of it. They were sending all these guys. They didn't know if they were getting back or going to get back healthy or anything along those lines. You're going to got half a team of the Penguins go beat their brains in for 2 weeks, and they may not even get a medal or anything out of it. And then you're going to go send them to South Korea. South Korea is not the best place to send these guys. At least if they keep them in America in different cities along the ways, Dallas.
Isn't that where Kang was at, where he got in trouble?
Yeah, he has 3 DUIs over there or something crazy. But I mean, South Korea, North Korea threatened them every month?
Rick, did you just say Dallas was a good city?
Dallas, well, yeah, where the stadium is, it's a nice area if you ever see that. I mean, different cities like Pittsburgh, these cities, the cities where these
You're
the
just standing
arenas
up in your ivory tower right now,
Columbus,
just shitting on other countries. You only named American cities.
Well, yeah, but think about it. If you're in the NHL, even Montreal's nice where it is. I mean, Toronto's downtown in their main market district. I mean, you have these cities set up. I mean, do you really want to send players way around the world with a country that's been threatened every week, and with a dictator up north that's not the best and crazy? And I mean, they're not competing. And some of these countries are going to be out quickly. I mean, they're not even, competing. Some of these, they don't have the talent and everything. And then you look at Russia, they're throwing out a bunch of players because the Russian league's out there. I mean, who knows what, I don't agree with the NHL going over. The Olympics needs the NHL. The NHL does not need the Olympics. I mean, you're better off making your money here. Why send 3 weeks extra into the season and risk guys getting hurt? Not worth it.
And here's the other point. As far as the Olympics, you figure there's people that will pay for people to be on The Biggest Loser and all these other weird shows where they're gone for weeks at a time. Don't tell me that we can't just shell out a couple more hundreds of thousands of dollars and be like, well, guess what? You've been selected to participate in downhill skiing. You got 4 years to prepare for it, and now, if you choose to accept, you get subsidized housing and subsidized everything because you have to train for this event. Imagine being randomly selected to do the big ski jump. How awesome would that be? You just see random people just flying off the jumps. That would be worth tuning in for. Who's going to crash? Who's going to stick the landing? If you've been doing it your whole life, no one's going to be impressed. Well,
Matt, I'm going to take your idea and I'm going to maximize it. I don't think you should just draft people. I think we should have a Cool Runnings type scenario here where you have an American Idol, you know how they'd go around to each city and they do a tryout, where they just do a crude long jump where they're hey, everyone get in this big line. You get to ride down whatever street, down this hill, and you just jump right in the middle of the summer. You see how long they go, and you're you had some pretty good, because then they're going to have outtakes. They go ahead, they bid out the rights so Fox or CBS or someone can air it. It would make for great television because it means about as much as what these American Idol shows do or whatever. I know that's really not relevant, I don't think, anymore. But that was the originator. So just do the Olympics tryouts. You want to do luge, Matt? Drive to Pittsburgh. They're going to have the Pittsburgh Regional.
Exactly.
And you get to drive right down the hill. Be? You have your crude little helmet on they did in Cool Runnings. They ran down. It was an old cart or something they made. That's the bobsled team. Which, speaking of, Sam McGuffey. Do you guys remember Sam McGuffey? He was the original YouTube star. He played football at Michigan for 1 year maybe. and then he transferred to Rice. But he was like the original recruit that his team or his whatever highlight tape on YouTube blew up back in like the mid 2000s. But he's an actual bobsledder this year. I don't think he won. I don't even think he medaled. But I thought that was pretty cool because that made me think of Cool Runnings, where they said you need your best athletes out here.
Mm-hmm.
Dude was I think he was undersized, which was what the mark was against him. But he was a pretty good athlete. If you have time, go ahead and look up Sam McGuffey highlights on YouTube. You'll see the original one. I think he's like jumping over players and doing all kind of crazy stuff. But
I'll do you one better. Look up Cool Runnings and watch that movie, and it'll be a much better use of your time.
Yeah, and I'll agree
That's
with
an
Richie.
hour.
There was
a Sam McGuffey highlight tape's only 5 minutes, Matt. I'm
Yeah.
actually going to tweet it out. I'm going to find it.
yeah, and I'll agree with Richie. There was a guy that was playing in the Frontier League for a team. He actually was a part of the second team for the U.S. bobsled, I believe, in 2000. He left halfway through the season. The team was making the playoffs. He left. He got to go. He's like, I'm second team bobsled. He was the last guy on the end, so he left. He was a big, huge power guy, and I mean, it's weird how certain athletes, you go from playing Frontier League Independent A baseball to you're now on the second team Olympics. They didn't medal. The first team did medal. The second team did not. But I mean, you could do stuff like that. I mean, it's weird stuff like that. In the Frontier League, you don't make money. You're lucky if you don't even make $300 a month, I think, playing the Frontier League, if I remember correctly, those salaries.
That's why they need to bring out the tryouts. Bring out the tryouts for the Olympics. But I agree with you guys. It's all about money. So I'm going to use that as a segue into our next topic, college basketball. Louisville, it was announced I guess their appeal was upheld or denied, and they have to vacate their 2013 national championship. And this comes right before the FBI is supposed to leak. I guess they're not really leaking, but they're going to go ahead and publish their report of college football. It's pretty much AAU money. Let's be honest. A lot of the media has never said it, but it's AAU money. You have these circuits where high school coaches and AAU coaches get paid by shoe dealerships to funnel players to big-time schools. And they said as many as 50, and I think we lost Rick, but they said as many as 50 big-time programs are on this list. And I think one of the guys joked that he saw preliminary list for the FBI investigation and said something like, if this drops before this year's tournament, you might see Tennessee State as a number 2 seed or something crazy like that. But it's probably overblown, that aspect. I think it's bad. I think it's definitely bad. I mean, it has to be, because you have guys that you have a one and done scenario where you get paid for 1 year by a big shoe company. All you have to do is stay healthy for 1 year. It's not like football where you might not pan out. You might not be big enough. You might not have the quick speed. You can't really tell from tape. In basketball, if you're a certain height and you have a certain vertical, you can pretty much be taught the rest. Matt, what do you think? You're a coach. I mean, basketball is a different breed. I think it's a lot easier to scout. What do you think?
Well, I think with basketball, the thing that everything ties in so close. You have your high school coaches that are working really closely with the AAU coaches, who are then working closely with these marketers. And to me, where it seems like the issue's coming in is that the AAU team is being sponsored by, say, Adidas. So that then they say, okay, well, if you go here and then you go to this college that's an Adidas school, then we'll just sign you to your contract, and that's where they're going to end up getting themselves in trouble for all this. I like that college football has kind of been staying out of the AAU type circuit with the 7-on-7s. They're kind of leaving because they're 7-on-7 coaches that are trying to prey on these athletes and saying, come be a part of our 7-on-7 team. We'll get you showcase. We'll get you D1. And they're not actually able to really produce Division I talent based off of 7-on-7 because it's not the same.
Yeah, and I think that's the one thing that puts the other sports ahead. Even minor league baseball, as deep as it is in how many of our players there are, there's so many guys that it's not worth it to pay. Even in football, let's be honest. If they did have something, your top recruits, there's ESPN has a top 300. There's even like a less amount than that that would get paid. Like, I don't even think the top 300 would get a paycheck from these big boosters. So if you're looking at it in the grand scheme of things, it's much easier just to pay 5 guys on a basketball team. If you think about it back, I think, honestly, it started around the Fab Five time, where I think ESPN did a documentary on the Big East where it said the Big East schools were bought by tennis shoes companies to compete with the bigger state schools like the Michigans, the North Carolinas and things, because the Big East schools were smaller, so they could go in. Schools like Syracuse, Villanova, all these Big East schools, they didn't have the money funds, so they had to take it from somewhere else. If you're a small school, you don't have the donor money. And I honestly think those are the schools you're going to see named in this suit. Louisville's probably one of them. I mean, they've already been pinched. They lost this championship. And to be honest, if they take away championships or wins, they don't mean anything. So the NCAA vacates Louisville's championship. What does that really do? Nothing. I mean, you still have media heads on ESPN talking about how they still recognize Louisville as a championship, even if it's blank in the record book. And I think that's where the NCAA needs to step up. And if they're going to vacate wins and vacate titles, I think it's the first title they've ever taken away in basketball. In basketball, you've had a tournament. Fill in the championship. I think at this point, you can easily look at the bracket and see there were 2 teams left that lost to Louisville. You had Wichita State and Michigan. Make them co-champs. At this point, I mean, you have UCF claiming football championships. Just having a blank line doesn't do anything. You know, I don't think they took their money away. I think Louisville should have to take their championship money and disperse it to the other schools that they beat or whoever. Don't give it to the ACC, because that's kind of just like, hey, get more teams caught and then you'll get more money back for the operating heads. Give it to the teams that they lost to or whatever. I think Wichita State should definitely get to claim. I mean, they're already in the Final Four. They lost by 4 points. And make them co-champs. Put it on the line and have a big ceremony where you raise the banner. I think, oh man, who was their coach? I had it and I didn't write it down because I thought I would remember. Wichita State's coach, he actually came out in an interview and said that he's still hurt over that, because for Wichita State, that's a huge deal. Even if they would have lost in a national championship, think of Butler. Butler's coach, after he went to the national championship, he's the head coach of the Celtics now because he took Butler to the national championship. So Wichita State was 1 game away. That's big news for all of their players. That's big news for their coach. That's a school that could have extra donor money. You could get all this extra exposure. Big 12 was looking to add schools a few years ago. Who's to say they don't add a basketball-only school? I don't know if did they make the jump to the Big East when Big East was looking for basketball schools. If they win the national championship, you better believe that they would have got a call from the Big East if they didn't already. So I think the NCAA should go ahead and right or wrong. You can't just name one. Just name them co-champs and say, like, hey, if you're going to cheat, give it to the other programs you know that didn't cheat. And I think that's really the only way, because I had joked about Michigan being the champ. But after looking at the facts, I think, honestly, the NCAA just taking it away does nothing. Think of like the Notre Dame one. If they take away that national championship appearance or whatever with Alabama, what does that mean? They already lost. But this is a team that won the championship. It's a sport that only has one champion, and you have a clear-cut way to say, hey, we don't want you cheating. We're taking all your money, and we're going to go ahead and have a ceremony for these other teams. I mean, what does it hurt? What are your guys' thoughts on that, Matt? I'd like to hear your thoughts first.
Well, to me, it all goes back to the whole North Carolina scam. Until they fully address it, until they show that they're willing to follow through with it, I don't think any team should accept any sanctions, any penalties from the NCAA, because how do you pick and choose which teams get wins taken away, which teams, and whether it's a championship, whether it's regular season wins, whether it's bowl wins, whatever it is, and until you're clear and consistent on how you're going to discipline programs and make it fair, that it's not this team makes X amount of money, so we're only going to give them a slap on the wrist versus this program that we're going to hit with scholarship sanctions, all this other money we're going to fine them and take away from them. And until they get clear on that and they just start addressing it equally, I just don't like the fact that they're saying, okay, well, we're going to take this way. We're going to take this Heisman Trophy away, but we're going to let this stuff go. It can't be that way. And until they clear it up, it's just going to be a mess, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is a chance for them to start to get it right. They messed up with the UNC thing, and I think everyone's going to consider them a joke until they do something. But now you have Louisville. It's already a federal investigation. You know that you can hammer them. Just like the Penn State thing. When you have court hearings that go in your favor, the NCAA can point at them and say, hey, look, we had a reason to do this. And you have the ability to right or wrong. I'm not so worried about like Michigan getting the money from the championship. I think they weren't slighted any because I think it works like football. If you're in the championship, you get the money. I think football was like $45 million. But could you imagine how much that would have meant to Wichita State if it is in fact the same? $45 million, or let's say if it's even $15 million that Wichita State would have got playing in that national championship game, that would have funded their entire athletic department for a couple years. And instead, they don't get that. Louisville gets it. And what do they do with it? They're using that to fund the lawsuit against them. It's crazy.
But then the question is, if they don't do that, does that open the door for a school like Wichita State to say, open it up for a lawsuit and say, I want that money back? Just like how you have at the U right now, where they backed out of their game with Arkansas State, possibly, I think it was, that they, because of the Hurricanes, canceled, never rescheduled. And they're saying we were expected a sum of money and we weren't paid. And they took them to court over. I think that may be the next line in that, to seek compensation because of the unfair practices. Might be what's in the best interest of those programs.
Yeah, you're right. It might be. Rick, we lost you for a little bit. You have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I agree with Matt. I think the next thing to do for Wichita is go to court and try to win your money or see what the NCAA do. I'd rather see Louisville, donate the money to charities and everything. There are tons of good charities out there. St. Jude, Make-A-Wish, that gives the money to other kids who don't have the chance to play or may not have the chance to play ever professional sports or anything, but help them through life. So I don't understand. And this is the thing. It's just becoming – some teams get hit hard and some teams get hit soft, or schools, you could say. I mean – Louisville is finally getting hit hard. Penn State got hit hard. Michigan gets a walk. Michigan State, gets a walk. NCAA gets a walk. I don't understand why some gets walks and some gets the hit hard. So when they're kind of doing some of the same, some of the different, but I don't understand it. And I think that's where I'm mad at the NCAA, or not mad, or kind of confused, I would say, is how do some teams get hit hard and some teams don't? And I think what's going to happen is you're going to have the federal court system and everything get more involved, that people are going to tip them off. So if X school is doing something bad, your rival, you're not going to go tell the NCAA. You're going to go tell the federal courts or tell some federal prosecutor, hey, look at this. We know this is happening. Here's some information. Have fun. Go ahead. We'll see in a couple months, and then go from there. I think that's probably what's going to happen more. You may have other schools turning on each other just because of this. So if we know Louisville's cheating or doing something wrong, hey, it may be your rival, in your conference turning you in, or it may be some other school that doesn't like you or jealous of you or something like that. So I think that's probably what's going to happen more, because people are not going to be trusting the NCAA more and more and more.
Yeah, it's going to be something that it's going to be interesting to see. If the rumors are true that this is going to drop in the next week or two, it's going to be a big deal, because you have all these tournaments that are going to be starting and a lot of good basketball that's been played. And now you're coming down to the most important time. And the real thing is the NCAA, they make their money from basketball. They don't make it from football. And I don't want to say, but it really looks like they protect schools that are better in basketball than they are in football, per se, like UNC. UNC, if you look at their football stadium, empty. I mean, geez, you could go out there and go blind, seeing the sun reflect off those bleachers out there. Then you go to the basketball, Michael Jordan, you have Jumpman, whatever. They're going to protect them. That's what it looks like to me. Schools like Syracuse, if you remember, they were kind of in their deal. They had some wins taken away. The coach sits out. He's still there. I mean, you're going to let a cheater coach? I mean, Rick Pitino, that kind of he got forced out just because he's been investigated so many times. But I mean, you're looking at it. It looks like it's basketball schools, and they're protecting them. To me, they'll hit a school like Notre Dame, mainly football. They'll hit a school like Miami, or at least try to until they botch that investigation, mainly football. They go after USC, mainly football. Who do they not hit? Basketball schools, because they get their money from the NCAA basketball tournament. So if the FBI steps in, I'm just going to laugh, because you know who they're going to go ahead and name in this lawsuit. It's going to be schools that they protect. So hopefully, I'm not a fan of Notre Dame, but I hope they get the last laugh here. But good to see Louisville vacate that and do the right thing. Name Michigan and Wichita State national champs. I'd like to get that second championship banner hung up in the Chrysler Center. Let's go on to our final topic of the week. Quarterbacks in the NFL draft. And this is a crazy one. And I wanted to get your thoughts, Matt. Because this draft, every year, it seems like there's a top quarterback or two, and everybody knows who it is. And this year, you have a lot of misfit toys out there. I'll put it that way. You have Baker Mayfield, who people have already started to compare to Johnny Manziel. And I like Baker. I like his attitude. He's a winner. That's basically my motto. Winners win. So you have a winner. You have a chance to draft him. And people are making negative comparisons already. He's one. Who's the other one? Lamar Jackson. They're not even going to give him a shot. And the Lamar Jackson thing reminds me of 2002. Brad Banks for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Or was it? Yeah, it was 2002.
Mm-hmm.
Great quarterback. That was an exciting team to watch. I love that team. Iowa Hawkeyes, they had some that year. They had Brad Banks, Dwight Clark. That was a killer year. They go 11-1.
Dallas.
11-2, 11-1. They had Bob Sanders on defense. They had a Heisman quarterback, Heisman candidate, him and Carson Palmer that year. Brad Banks and Carson Palmer. They get to the NFL draft. Who doesn't even get a look, really? Brad Banks, because of one thing. They say he's undersized. And that's exactly what they're saying with Lamar Jackson this year. 6'1". I mean, Doug Flutie was shorter, correct? I mean, it's a different game, but still, it reminds me of that. You have a quarterback, very similar, Heisman hype, Heisman winner this time, and size knocking them. They want him to play wide receiver already. Those are two different, distinct people, but I think those are your most high-profile quarterbacks in this year's draft. I'd like to get your thoughts, Coach. What do you think?
Well, I as far as the quarterback prospects in general, the one that I'm high on is the quarterback from Wyoming, and I can't think of his name right now.
Is it Allen?
Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
But he's the one that I think is going to be. He's a guy that I think is good enough that if I'm Pittsburgh, I'm looking to see what I have to do to jump up and take him. I think he's that good. I think his skill set, he makes the rest of that Wyoming team around him better. You know, I think there's not a lot of baggage, and maybe it's because he's in the middle of Wyoming. But to me, I think he's the clear-cut head of the class.
Well, did you see this? Was it the Senior Bowl? He was quarterbacking in, and the entire media, they must have got a media sheet because everyone was saying that he throws the ball too hard, and receivers would not catch the ball because he was so hard. He threw the ball so hard and so accurate that it just surprised all the receivers that were there. And I was like, what the hell? This reads like his agent told them what exactly to say, that he's throwing passes so accurate and so hard that the receivers aren't used to catching like a hard thrown ball. Just ridiculous. So I don't know what to feel on him. I feel like he's kind of a hidden gem. He could be great, but we don't know because the competition was so bad that you're bringing in a random guy. I mean, I don't know. So have you seen film on him?
I've watched some, and I think he can make all the throws that the pro-style offenses want. He reminds me a bit of Carson Wentz with the style of offense that they were running, where it's a lot of inside zone with a bubble screen or slip screen on the outside. He has the ability to throw deep, but also he's doing a lot of the RPOs that are now really popular with college that I think would make him a good fit with a number of franchises.
Well, going back to that, the Wentz thing, wasn't he contemplating going out last year because I want to say that they had him in some mock drafts. Him and Wentz is like the 1-2 that they didn't know because they were so similar.
Yeah, they weren't 100%. The other one was Rosen, the UCLA quarterback. He was supposed to go, and then he was one that waited. And I don't think he really did a whole lot to help his stock. He ran his mouth a bit.
If anyone should be compared to Manziel, it's
all
him.
over him.
Yeah, it has bust written all over, and they take my man Baker down, and they should be throwing the Manziel-Rosen comparisons because that's basically what he's looking like. You have that one good year, you stick around, have a few trash talky years where you're not that good, and people expect to draft you high. But I don't know. So have you seen film on all the guys? Because I've been watching some. I know it's still early. I don't want to throw this on you. But
I've watched some. Honestly, after I saw the comments of him running his mouth, I watched a little bit just to see what the hype was about. I wasn't impressed. There wasn't anything that when I turned any of his film on that made me think something special. You know, when you watch Carson Wentz, the way that he carried himself, the way he moved the ball with that North Dakota offense, he looked the part. You know, I can remember watching Armani Edwards when he was at App State playing Joe Flacco at Delaware. You could see that there was something there that the way they carry themselves differently. The thing I have with Mayfield is he knows all the spotlights on him right now. And just this week he had some comment like trashing the University of Texas, which I don't of course he would say it. But those are the kind of things that as an owner you have to say red flag. Like everyone has to be telling him, just shut your mouth until the draft is over. And he just can't help himself. I think that it's going to be something that down the line, the comparison, he naturally draws the comparisons to Manziel because Manziel couldn't keep himself under control. And now he's trying to go to Canada and trying to rebuild his comeback because
schizophrenia or bipolar disease or something.
He's bipolar. He's bipolar. He had to go to rehab. He had to do all this stuff. Mayfield might as well just get himself that psych eval and just get on the meds now and just skip the 2 or 3 years of like combusting.
What I'm hearing, Matt, is you like your quarterbacks in Chunky Soup commercials doing all the right things, like Donovan McNabb, just keeping it cool.
Absolutely. I'll quote my dad. If I'm paying you $100 million, you're going to be washing my car, be doing my laundry. Like I'm paying you this much money. You have one job to do. It's be great and win games. I don't want you partying and running your mouth and trash talking. Win games. That's the bottom line. And which one of those guys is going to win you games? To me, when I look at Lamar Jackson, one of the people that I think about is Cordell Stewart. I think Cordell Stewart was a quarterback that they moved him around when he was in that slash role, and they had him at wide receiver, they had him at quarterback, they had him lined up all over the field. He was an asset. When he declared, "No, I am a pocket quarterback, and I'm done being slash," his career quickly spiraled. I think when you have a talent like Lamar Jackson, his speed is a weapon. You know, the thing that I think is going to hurt him is that he's not very big physically, so that if he tries to do the scrambling that's making him famous right now in college, he's going to get killed. So I think that's why some of the scouts people, higher executives are saying the move for him is to be a wide receiver so that it lessens the abuse that he's going to take. But I don't think that you necessarily have to write him off right now on the fact that because quarterback, because other quarterbacks have made it work.
What was that last point you made? Because you cut out there for a second to make sure you get that in.
Just that there's other quarterbacks who are undersized and have been able to make it work. And I think that they don't have to pigeonhole him right now.
Well, my last point on this, and I'll let you guys finish up, is do you think he's going to make the mistake where if he forces himself in the quarterback position, he could end up like Eric Crouch, where I remember being impressed by him and just thinking, play wide receiver. What are you doing? You're throwing away your life. Now no one remembers who he is. He wins the Heisman at Nebraska. They tell him, undersized, whatever. You don't have the things, and he says, no, I'm either quarterback or bust, and they just immediately just wrote him off. He was like the Tim Tebow before it happened. Do you think there's any of that here?
I think it could. I think it definitely could be in play, and I think that's also a reflection of what kind of teammate, what kind of player is he going to be. If he embraces whatever role that a team drafts him, and he has that level of humility that I'm willing to do whatever a team is looking for me to do, then I think he could be a very productive NFL player. I think if he looks at it like, I want to protect he has confidence in himself, but knowing the way that the NFL is with their archaic system, if they try to jam him into that pro-style system that isn't what he's accustomed to at Louisville, he's going to struggle, and he's definitely going to have a high bust potential.
Rick, you have any thoughts on these quarterbacks?
I think this is going to be the draft of a lot of teams, and I think it shows like with the Jets when they're talking about Kirk Cousins $60 million guaranteed. It's a lot of teams that are desperate out there. It is prom season, and it's the week before prom, and I see a lot of these guys just busting. I would not take Sam Darnold. I would not take him. I would not take Rosen.
Well, Darnold's not coming out, is he?
Isn't he coming out?
I thought he said he was going back to USC. Matt, do you know?
I want to say he is.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
going to pull that. I'm going to look real quick.
I mean, I like Josh Allen. I like the Carson Wentz. I think I see a lot in him. I'd take him. I mean, he just looks like more of a pocket passer. It looks like somebody's good. And I'm going to give you a random guy that we didn't talk about here, but I like Oklahoma State. I like Mason
Rudolph. Yes.
Rudolph could be your guy that goes not in your first round. I think these guys, if you take a first round pick and you're using your first round pick on a quarterback and it busts, it's going to set up for a bad draft. If you go down and wait like maybe to a second or third round and get like a Mason Rudolph, he could be a good quality quarterback. I mean, we've seen second and third round quarterbacks that have made good, Russell Wilson's always the one that comes to the top of everybody's mind when you talk about a third round quarterback. But I mean, that could be your guy. Go get a defensive lineman. Go get your running back you need, or go get the free safety that seems like many teams need right now.
Darnold is declaring.
I thought
he's going to the draft. I thought he wasn't.
He is declaring.
Wow. I thought he was going to go back. I mean, he really has to work on his accuracy and stuff. Because I think he's a complete bust, too. That's my final thoughts.
And he's 2 for 1 on touchdowns and interceptions. And he looked terrible in the bowl game. So I wouldn't take him. I don't know.
He doesn't look like he has it. Like, I don't want to say he doesn't look like he has the smarts, but his interviews come across like he's scripted. And when he makes reads, he just makes dumb throws. Like, what was the one? Was it their bowl game? He threw one right to the other team for an easy pick 6, I think. And I texted Matt, I was like, what was that? Like, who was he even throwing to? How do you miss that read? I think it was he played Ohio State, I think. Because he threw it right to the linebacker. The linebacker didn't disguise coverage. He sat there right in the zone. He was there at the snap. So I was like, what the hell? How can you miss that throw? That's your number one guy, media. That just shows you how much they don't know. You're going to get a guy like that in the league, and Chris Collinsworth will be drooling all over him in rookie position, waiting for that next big Peyton Manning deal where he comes in and he can gush over him like Aaron Rodgers for 10 years. But we'll wrap it up. You guys have any closing things you want to talk about? Rick, we'll go with you.
Pitchers and catchers have reported for baseball. Olympics is finishing up. So if you're watching USA Curling, we actually win games for men's. True story. So, I mean, so Lindsey Vaughn is right now in second place in her skiing. So she just went live. So she does have an opportunity possibly to go to the White House if she gets the gold. But her own teammates beating her out for that.
She's a skier? I thought she was a caddy
skiing
for Tiger Woods.
You would think that. But also another thing I mentioned too, I saw this was the list of Hall of Fame for basketball finalists. Man, this is like the weakest lists I've ever seen. I had to look up some of these people because I didn't know who they were. But I will say this: I am hoping Ray Allen, please put him in. The guy was always a complimentary player, always like the second or third best guy on the team, but always had good games, always had the clutch shot. He was always a good shooter. I mean, I'm hoping he gets in just because of his ability and his play. And I mean, he was an unsung guy. He did
Who? You're kind of out a
try
little
the
bit.
media,
But Ray
so,
Allen
I mean,
was
that's my guy.
legit. He played
Yeah.
for years. I thought
But
you
he
were
was
going to read
never-
me. Hey, is the cast of Space Jam in the Hall of Fame? Because I think they should automatically get in.
Sean Bradley. Sean Bradley. Sean Bradley.
Just so if you're trying to get kids into the sport and they're like, who's in the Hall of Fame? You can just throw on Space Jam and then they'll get excited because that's who they're going to see. Matt, you have any closing thoughts this week?
Well, as we're getting closer towards our combine and starting to see for the NFL who's going to be doing what, I am curious to see what some of these free agents are going to be coming out, because just like we were talking about with our quarterbacks, I think you'll see a lot of money being thrown at them, but then you have to take that risk in the draft of taking a quarterback high. And I think even though, these guys that we just talked about, like Rosen, like Darnold, they're going to jump up because of the performance that they have at the combine and through some of this interview process, that I think teams are going to have to jump, because if they pass on them early, then it's going to lead to someone else scooping them up later in the round, and then they'll be known as the team that passed on blah, blah, blah if they actually hit.
Yeah, you're going to get that. I think it's going to be really big this year, too, because of how split it is. But my final thing, the Big Ten hockey has been legit the best division since maybe the old CCHA or whatever that was called. If you're looking at hockey, the Olympics have brought me up. I'm watching Olympic hockey, and it's not quality NHL hockey. It's comparable if I wanted to watch a college game. So if you're into that style of hockey, check out some college. The Big Ten added Notre Dame. A lot of people don't know that because I don't think the ACC sponsors hockey. So you have Notre Dame, Michigan, Minnesota, Ohio State, all ranked, all looking to make the NCAA tournament, and it will be a complete turnaround because Penn State added a program. And to be honest, I would like to see more schools add hockey programs, even women's, because it gives another sport for them. I think Wisconsin's ranked 1 in women's hockey. So the Big Ten, they're going to add Arizona State. So schools that want to have hockey teams can join. It's nothing big, but I think you have to have the Big Ten Network to check it out. But if you're into hockey, you like what you're seeing in the Olympics, check it out if you want to see some amateur hockey. But that's it for this week's show. Follow us on Twitter, S-Bound Sports. We're also on Instagram and Facebook, Southbound Sports. We stream this live every Tuesday on Facebook, and you can also check us out on iTunes. The Southbound Sports Report, our audio-only podcast, did get approved, so there's going to be some more episodes of that coming out. I'm just finishing some stuff up with that. But check us out, and we'll see you guys next week.